Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
We're all set up here down this creek bottom. Bean Buck's been in here a bunch of times, so good chance to see him on him.
Meh. Smoked him. I think he just crashed, bro. Absolute money, dude. It's 76 degrees out. We just set up 80 yards from a buck and killed him at 18 yards.
Here we are. We're set up on this creek that's been absolute fire for the last 8 days. We know a shooter went in here to bed this morning.
Meh.
Smoke his ass tonight.
Get it? That's at 8, dude. That's at 8.
Bucked out October 28th. Homie's up for the rest of November. But absolute incredible season. Both kills on hanging hunts, right on the beds, and just making it happen.
Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, coming in your ear holes with episode 8. 8 straight days of podcasting with you guys. 8 straight episodes released. Damn near at 7 a.m. Central Time is when I've been releasing these. I think the first one was a little off because it was just the announcement of the show. But after that, it's been 7 a.m. on the button. Got a ton of people listening. So shout out to everybody that's been tuning in and listening to the show. I hope you guys are enjoying it, letting you know what I'm seeing out there, and hopefully it motivates you to get out there and get in the woods as well. Let's start off with the people that make this possible. Exodus powered all this, guys. 2 years ago, they did the same thing. It cost me more money to host this mini podcast, so they stepped in and covered the fees and give me a little kickback for doing so many episodes every night after I go hunting, uploading them, making a cover art. There's a lot of steps and processes, calling a guy, lining that out. So, big shout out to them. I heard on the grapevine that they have a killer Black Friday sale coming up. So, be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a badass sale. The best savings of the year is what I'm hearing. So, if you guys are in the market for a mobile cam and you want it for the rut, go ahead and hit it now. But if you can hold out, hit that Black Friday sale because that's going to be the best savings of the year. And you get to hear more about that on the weekly podcast that we come up to Wednesday here. Starting off with what I did this morning. Well, this morning the huge front came through, and there was up to 50-mile wind gust. And it was really, really, really nasty out. I woke up, went outside, and last night I wasn't going to go. I stayed up a little bit later with my kids, watched some TV, hung out with them. Played some video games with my oldest kid for maybe 45 minutes there and enjoyed that. And then the wife and mother-in-law wanted to go get some flowers from Big Lots, I think, to put on the gravestones for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So my wife asked, would this be a good day to do that? And I said that would be perfect. So she left the morning there. I actually went outside and shot in that 40-mile-an-hour wind, 50-mile-an-hour wind, and wow, that made a huge difference. I was out there, and it was the arrow flight was definitely not where I was aiming. It was still on the target, but it wasn't exactly where I was aiming with the broadhead. So if you're ever in a situation like that, that's something to think about. I've never shot in 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds like that, but I figured, hey, if I'm going out and something comes in early, we're going to see what the arrow will do. So I didn't plan on taking any shots past 20 yards until that wind died down. But that wind died down, and I ended up having a pretty good sit. I had a buck I know pretty good. I've encountered him once already this year, and I got a bunch of trail cam picture of him. Just a real solid 8-pointer, probably 120, 125 class 8-pointer. Real good, real tall, tight, out to his ears, rack, good tine length, good brows. He was cruising the field there, doing a little grunting. He just about got to my scent cone, and then he kind of cut north. So that was nice. I thought he was going to get into my scent cone, but he ended up not. And then I had 3 does come out really, really late. But it was crazy because I thought the movement would be earlier since they were held up from that front all night and, all the wind all day and not feeding very much. But the movement was not until last light. I'm talking last 20 minutes is when I seen these deer. I was setting on an ag food source, pick cornfield, and there's a pick bean field, and then there's kind of like a clover alfalfa field just to the backside of that. So it's a nice little smorgasbord for them, and most of the timber's to the south. But I was watching over a gigantic field, and I only seen those 4 deer, and that buck came from a long ways away. He was cruising pretty good. And then he cut back north and went back in the timber, and then those 3 does come out, like I said, right at last light, and they hung around. I actually got out of the stand, and they were still out there at 40 yards. The moon, if you're out tonight, the moon was incredible. You could see, I didn't even use a flashlight or anything on the way out. You could see 50 yards, so I could still see those does out there feeding when I got down and went to the truck. But the cams have been pretty good. Does moving tonight. I expect the movement tomorrow to be really, really good. So plan for tomorrow is I'm going to go and get in the King food plot set and the lower pinch. I had a buck, just going off historical data, because I don't have a lot of going on right now. I got a preset stand in there. I can go in there. I have a buck called Bud Heavy that we've had for 3 years now. This will be the 4th year. And then he came through there early in the morning on November 5th last year and stayed there kind of that whole day. So I'm just going after historical data and seeing if he makes that same travel route this year. So I'm going to go in there. Like I said, that's where Chips and Dip is, the giant deer that I'm after. He's really, really good deer. So I'm going to go in there after Bud Heavy and Chips and Dip. And if anything else works through that pinch, this property that I'm going on is we've hunted it for quite a while now, and we've only killed 1 buck off of it, or 2 bucks. We killed 2 bucks off of it, but it's set up weird. It's kind of the northern zone of the timber, and then they have to go across a big field. But there's a lot of corn standing around it right now, probably 200 or 300 acres of corn still up. So I'm hoping that that's holding some deer, and they pinch out of that and come towards me, or anything pitches from the north and works down. We'll have to go right through this pinch. So there's a couple scrapes there, but all my cams on scrapes and my actual visual scrapes, they've been pretty dead. Here is our guest calling in. So let's get him on the line and see what he's got going on. You there, brother?
What up, big guy?
What's up, Nick? How's it going?
It's going, man. How you doing?
Going good. Just actually podcasting. I just figured I'd hook you up, and when you hit the ring button, I'd go right into it, and then we'd start from there. So,
sweet. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah. How's the rut been going for you here recently?
Kicking my ass.
I know. Same here, man.
This weather don't help.
Yeah. The hot weather's been a struggle for a lot of people I know, but you got any predictions for this cold front that's coming up here soon?
You're talking about this one this weekend, or this one that's coming up in the next 7 days? Because that one
the next one. This one on this weekend, it's like tomorrow, then to Tuesday.
Yeah,
it's pretty solo, but then that next one's gonna be incredible.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a 30 temperature drop. Thursday? I think Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, I think I've seen a high. I think I seen a low like 28.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's when you get below freezing, that's when this stuff really
yeah. So, dude, I have I get random luck with the beginning of November. I'll just happen to be on a doe that comes in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems to me that I always have that better, especially with the big bucks, man. The later the November gets, and I don't. My philosophy behind it is that them big boys, they have rights to the breeding area, so they don't have to move, they don't have to go anywhere, they don't really have to change their pattern too much, you know what I mean, other than just trying to figure out where the does are at, you know what I mean. I feel like the later it gets in November, that's when them big boys start to move around and check things out and be a little more stupid, if you will, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think November 7th and November 8th is the days that the most Boone and Crockett bucks are harvested on average throughout the whole entire year. So that's coming up here real soon. We're going to have some decent weather. But it seems like from the 5th on, it gets a lot better for
Yeah.
me. 7th has always been my favorite day. 7th and 9th is, if anybody's always
Yeah.
asked me. It's just because
Yep.
you get a cold, frosty morning from anywhere from the 5th to the 15th. You get a nice, good morning. You're in for some good deer movement. So I agree with the same. The bigger deer.
Especially when it's hot like this.
Yeah.
When it's hot and then all of a sudden it gets really cold again, because that's usually Illinois is famous for that. Like it just gets really hot somewhere in October, November, and then that first cold front that comes in after it's been hot for a week or two is usually fire.
Yeah.
You got to be in the woods.
All these bucks are held up. They want to breed. They know it's getting close, but
they get fired up.
It's crazy that the light switch vent on the scrapes they're just hitting them, nailing them, nothing. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Everything's got leaves in them, and the cameras are dead.
Yeah, you'll find one that's getting hit, and one that I found that's getting destroyed, and then I sat it twice. I sat an evening hunt and a morning hunt at it, and nothing.
Yeah.
So
the scrape days are over, but man, it was a weird late October for me. It's just I passed some good deer in October there too, and it just seemed like it wasn't. My cams weren't on as fire as they normally were, but I know a lot of people were saying that their cams weren't.
That's how my cameras are. I got a few cell cameras back in some bedding areas that we're just kind of using to monitor these really deep bedding areas on public, and it seems like we got a few bucks living in that area, and even on our regular cameras in that area, they're not making the jumps that they did last year, where especially this time of year, you see a lot more bedding area movement, or especially on bigger pieces, you'll get them. At least we do in this one property that we've been hunting, is we'll get them on a camera here, and then we'll see them the next morning, or even on a camera, a mile down the road. It's in the same property, but just maybe across the street and a mile down, and they're not doing that this year at all.
Yeah, that's my urban piece. I was going through past trail cam data. I don't have a lot going on right now, and I'm trying to pick and choose where I set with the wind, so I just went to where I could set with the wind, and then went to past trail cam data and was looking through it, and my urban piece was just lit up last year at this time. There's 7 does in there. They're on my plot almost every day. One of them's a button buck. I'd seen that a couple days ago. So 6 does, and there's just not any bucks in there using that area, and last year I had a scrape in there, and 3 different bucks hit it November 5th night, and it's just not, they're just not there this year. And now I have 2 scrapes on that plot, and the deer are just not there, and nothing's changed. I've hunted that place twice, and it's crazy.
So here's my question, and this is something I've been thinking about. We haven't had this cold of a November or October in a long time. Do you think that's what's really affecting it? Because that's what I feel. I feel like this cold, we haven't had probably 2-3 years. We might have had a cold snap in October, but we had a good 2-3 weeks of it being pretty good.
Yeah,
I think that's changed. Yeah, I think that's what's changing the dynamics of the beginning of November.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. The bucks are. I didn't get near the random bucks. I haven't got any random bucks on any cam yet. It's all the bucks that have been there all year. And most of the time by now, I have some, oh shit, where'd this deer come from?
Right.
I did have one buck, and it was a giant. It was probably an 80s class deer. Come through on the king piece at 1 a.m. and worked the scrape there at the food plot where I'm going to set tomorrow. But never seen him, probably never see him again. That's just how that property works. You just have to be there. It's just a travel pinch kind of corridor property, not a living property. But other than that, I'm running a bunch of cams, a bunch of mobiles. I just haven't got the random deer. It's just the same deer that have been there all year, still working the same areas. But I didn't lose a lot of bucks either.
Yeah, same. We pretty much have one of those cell cams that we have beat back in a bedding area is it's kind of just a ridge that sits on the edge of a field. So there's a field, and then it drops down into a creek bottom, right?
Yeah.
And they bed on that ridge, and they bed really close to that camera. But we have that camera set up on a scrape that's there every year, and it gets used all year round. And it's the same 3 bucks that are hitting it. We got a real wide 10-pointer that we've been chasing. We got videos and pictures of him last year. Brandon actually had him at about 25 yards and snuck in behind him last year, late season. And he's a stud, and he's hitting it pretty frequently, or that bedding area. But we've had no bucks that have randomly moved in or passed through or anything like that. So
yeah, it's been a weird 1st of November for me, but like you said, the cold October and then the hot 1st of November, I was thinking tonight was going to be the light switch, but maybe tomorrow will be the light switch event where these bucks will be like, okay, these does are going to move, so I'm going to have to start moving. And all it takes is the first couple hot does to get it come into heat, and they really are going to get amped up. So right now you're just out there, and you're like, man, it's a
grind.
Yeah, it's just slow.
It's a grind.
You sit out there, you're like, I waited all year for this, just out here just sitting by myself, just barely existing,
Yeah.
But
telling yourself you do it for the scenery.
Yeah, you're like,
right.
it's.
I can tell you one thing: my cameras went crazy today.
Did they?
But it was because of that freaking wind.
Yeah.
I got a million pictures of a tree limb going by my.
I thought this afternoon was going to be way better. I did see a 125, 130 class buck tonight. Grunting by himself. He's cruising the edge of a field, and then some does. But it wasn't the, when I hunted it on a cold front in October, I seen 19 deer, 4 bucks, and a shitload of does. I seen 3 does, and the movement was like really, really, really late. So. But I talked to a lot of people with this podcast. A lot of people are messaging me. And then I also talk to a lot of people that I'm just friends with that say, hey, how's it going out there, blah, blah. To keep out in the stands, something to do.
Yep.
And everybody's not seeing shooters. It's like there's a lot of people that are just like, I'm going to wait until it gets cold. I'm not even going to hunt. And then there's some people that are having luck. I haven't heard of anybody that shot one at like 1. Or something like that.
No, yeah, I have a few guys that from doing the same thing with Instagram. I get a lot of guys that just message me in the stand, and we just kind of BS like like me and you do a lot.
Yeah.
And so, I have a couple people that are saying they've been seeing a lot of midday movement, but it's real short, and they'll see it. They'll have 2 or 3 bucks do it once or twice in the day, and they're moving from one thicket to the next, but I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I got one picture from Brian today. He's bucked out, and I think it was like 11 o'clock. He had one cruising.
Yeah,
that he sent me a picture of. But like I said on this podcast, you can kill them. It's just you can kill them right now. It's just hard, And this weather tomorrow morning will be. There'll be a lot of people that are like, man, it was a great morning. It was an incredible morning.
I think so.
I
think
so.
This wind comes through. Yeah.
It was 50-mile-an-hour winds this morning when I woke up. Gust of 50.
Yeah, it was gnarly. Yeah. So I'm on daddy duty until Monday, and then I'm going back to work until that cold front. And then once that cold front ends, I'll jump back and do a tree. But dude, I can't buy luck this year to save my life. Freaking, it seems like every time I basically what I've been doing is, since we haven't had the movement on our cameras, I've been bouncing to just other pieces that I have history with and kind of I can walk in, check the sign. If the sign's in there, then I kind of have an idea what them bucks do in those properties, and I can just move in on it. And dude, I'm talking every couple of days I've been bouncing different properties, and it'll take us 3 or 4 properties just to find good sign. And then it seems like I set up on the sign and everything that can go wrong will go wrong. I found a bunch of sign this week and moved in. This is a piece that I've hunted for years. And I actually had an opportunity at probably one of the biggest bucks I've ever had an opportunity on public. and I got him narrowed down back there. This is years ago. And the guy, I spooked him by getting down out of the tree too early and had him at like 40 yards, didn't know it. And he took off and ended up getting shot across the street the next day.
Man.
So when I went in there, I had the same sign that I had when that buck was in there, but bigger. And I'm like, oh shit. Like if it's bigger than the sign that I was seeing when I was chasing that deer, and he was probably 165, 70-inch 10-pointer. I was like, something's got to be in here that's pretty gnarly, but there's standing corn in it. And I know where they like to bed off of that field, but I've never really hunted it with the standing corn, especially still. It's usually out by now. And the first hunt, we didn't see anything. I seen a deer's ass, but I don't know what it was. And then I went back the next day and sat it and moved all the way back to, this would have been yesterday or maybe the night before, Thursday night. I went all the way back to this piece, all the way to the back corner of the property, snuck my way in, got in real quiet, get set up. And there's a guy that owns private next to the public, and it's pretty close to his property. Well, he decided he was going to go trim lanes from his yard to the public. And he was out there on one of those like wood chippers that you push around.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, I was like, well, maybe the deer are used to him, screwing off back there, and sure as shit didn't see nothing. And then I get all the way back to the tree or back to the truck, a little irritated, wore out, the grind, here in your head. And I start patting down my pockets, and I drop my tags and my hunting license. And I have no idea where they're at. I went back and walked the trail that I walked in, walked the trail back out, and it's probably a 3/4 of a mile, if not a mile back. Never found it. Looked underneath the tree, never found it. So
oh gosh,
I can't buy luck this year.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's the grind, man. Just keep going, and hopefully something happen. I do this Rutcation podcast series, and I hunt so much, and I go so much, and I record every night, and it's like the season in your mind, you start to think that the season's over when it's when I got to go back to work on the 15th. You're like, oh, it's over. I didn't get it done, but we still got a ton of season. My late season should be really good. I got some good late season plots, and I'm definitely not giving up, but I'd like to buck out, during this series. Yeah. But I'm being pretty selective this year, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not a huge rut guy. Like I said, I definitely like the end of the rut a lot more than I like the beginning of it. I've always found like I see my bigger bucks make those larger movements and do dumber shit come, about Thanksgiving time. But it is funny. I think it's just like you were saying, like you start to get to the point like you're like, oh man, season's almost over. And I think it's just because we hunt so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We put 4 or 5 days a week into the woods, and you're doing that and getting your ass kicked at the same time. You're like, Jesus. Like,
yeah, I'm on day 8, day 8, and I took one day off there after I missed that buck or hit the limb on the buck. I had a listener message me and said, you didn't miss him, you hit a limb. I'm like, well, that's still a miss. So, but if the guy's listening for the first time, he'd be like, oh, I missed one. But no, when I hit the limb on the buck, I took the next day off and kind of, mentally prepared.
Licked your wounds.
Yeah, it was 72 out, so I wasn't real jacked on go anyways. But, I mean, that's 7 days I've hunted, and I got till I got to the 15th. So –
oh, yeah, you got good time. And that'll be perfect right at the end there. You'll get that real good weather. It'll get you really motivated.
Yeah, that real good weather. I'll be out there freezing, still not seeing anything. But all right, brother, well, let the people know where they can find you. I got 1% on my phone, so before we lose it here.
Yeah, I'm Lethal Nick on Instagram, and then it's Lethal Prairie on YouTube. And you can find me on both of those. That's where I do a lot of my filming, and I'm probably going to be starting a podcast like you eventually. So that's where you'll see it all. Yes, sir.
All right, bro. Well, we'll have you on a full-length episode soon once I get this series done. I got a whole list of guys I want to get on, but appreciate you coming on and letting the people know what you're seeing and how it's going out there.
Of course, man. Good luck, dude.
All right, have a good night. All right, well, there you have it. Another hunter out there doing the same thing on the struggle bus. Like I said, I know a lot of my friends that are killers, they're not seeing big bucks. So that makes me feel a little bit better. Like I said, my plan for tomorrow, I'll be in the food plot stand on the scrapes there on Kings, hoping something works that pinch out of that. There is some does that are bedding there. Hopefully they're wanting to get from one bedding to the south to the north of the property, and I'm using that southwest wind to edge them out there. But that's the plan, guys. Daylight savings time, so the sleeping in is over. We got to get up early as hell out there to get in the stand bed by daylight, but give you a little more time in the afternoon. It'll be getting dark at 5:30 now, 5:20, crazy. Be shooting lights over. So I appreciate you guys tuning in all the way to the end. Appreciate you listening to the show. Keep your head up if you're out there hunting and haven't got it done yet. Lots of good days yet to come. The weather just showed up. Have some fun out there. Try to do the right thing. Try to leave a legacy, and Whitetail Legacy is out.